Hi there, my name's Cindy Davis. I am the Content Director for AV Technology, and with me is Nic Milani, the VP of Marketing and Business Development at Epiphan. Nic, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Cindy. It's good to see you.
You too. So, been dying to do this interview for quite a long time because really, I want you to tell me how Epiphan is disrupting the pro AV and broadcast industries.
Well, we're kind of a long-time listener, first-time caller, so to speak, right? I mean, the pro AV industry has had a major shift over the last few years in this convergence of AV and IT, and obviously we've talked about it a lot. And Epiphan's participated in that with great cloud-based tools and IP-based technologies. But one of the other things that we've also been doing is we've been thinking a lot about the broadcast world. That's something that's been largely kind of ignored by the pro AV space. So, for 18 years, in fact, that's how long Epiphan has been at work quietly building, dare I say, a new industry, a blended industry. It's probably not an industry yet, but streaming strategic video externally and internally is a huge opportunity, and it's one that we're seeing a lot of energy behind right now.
Absolutely, and I know that, a lot of the case studies that I've done with AV technology, everybody's got to really up their game on the video end of it. Higher education, corporate town halls, just even general meetings. We're all doing this now, right? So it's really important for the overall quality and the experience to be much better.
Well, I think just always start with the individual perspective. How much video content do you ingest during any given day?
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. We don't want to really admit to ourselves how much. But if we think about the channels and the feeds that we're drawn to, they tend to be a more curated, higher design experience. That's a more broadcast-esque type outcome. Well, what we're seeing over in the corporate and enterprise and education and all the verticals we attack is both external bound content. So when I'm sharing my story with the world, I want it to be differentiated and curated, but also internal content. One of the conversations I had a lot at Infocom was with a lot of distribution, let's call it AV over IP distribution networks that are saying, we've got all these, encoders or receivers and transmitters all over the facility. How do we get better content into that 4K ecosystem? How do we get better video for our internal employees? And so there's so much happening in the space right now. It's really a fun place to be.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you're well positioned and good timing as well, which is couldn't be better, right?
Amen.
And you talk about content, training is critical, and putting together really, really high quality training videos for that are put out there over YouTube. Because not everybody travels to the corporate headquarters anymore.
Well, I think the thing is that like what I think is really important is that regardless of location, we should have a great experience. So when I have the luxury of being there in person, fantastic. I get the benefit of the culture and the company and the energy and the people. But if I am remote or if I can't make it in person, why should I have an inferior experience? And I think that's the thing we're fundamentally trying to reconcile coming out of COVID. Prior to COVID, you had great in-person experiences, miserable remote experiences. COVID forced us all to up our remote kind of experiences. We all learned how to use the tools kind of to survive. Now, as we move into this post-COVID era, we have to reconcile those two things and really figure out how do we turn this into a strategic asset, a tool that can really help our organizations be better. And I think that's the fun part about the conversations, is because that requires imagination, that requires looking forward, not necessarily just thinking about the past.
Absolutely. And tell me a little bit. There's been a lot of buzz around Epiphan. Congratulations, since Infocom. So tell me a little bit about how you guys are uniquely positioned.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it goes back to where we started the conversation about blending those two kind of worlds together, right? And I also think that it's about this breadth of product that we have across these different applications. So we have a really robust set of edge devices. Pearl, as they're known, are encoders, are really great acquiring signals, kind of making mini production studios. So if you're an organization that wants to create a 4K, YouTube channel, cooking, or whatever your passion is for your company, we give you that ability at the edge to create a studio around our device. That device is managed in the cloud, can be switched remotely, can be controlled from anywhere. And now what we're starting to do is pair that with cloud tools. So virtualized production, and Unify, which we announced in the spring, and our latest announcement around Epiphan Connect, which we'll be unveiling on September 27th. And that Epiphan Connect really takes the power of Microsoft Teams into any virtual production or physical production environment in the world.
Oh, and by the way, for everybody viewing, I took advantage of the invitation by Epiphan to create this video. So thank you for that. All through your tools. And I know we'll be talking about that a little bit more later. So really appreciate that. And it wouldn't be really, you wouldn't be able to quite do this without, the overall ecosystem.
Yeah, and that's just it. I think one of the things that's important to realize, and for people listening in, is I describe those three spheres. Those three spheres are independent. And those three spheres are all designed to work with other manufacturers. So at the edge, we're bringing in SDI, HDMI, and then IP-based protocols like NDI so that you can acquire any kind of video or audio signal at the edge, bring it into a device, create an experience, do everything. That's a standalone experience. That experience can work with our Microsoft Teams tool, which allows you to then bring in a Microsoft Teams participant into that production. But see, one of the nuances of Epiphan that I really want the industry to understand is that we don't force you to have that relationship. If you just want the Microsoft Teams tool and you're a Grass Valley shop, fantastic. In fact, a teaser for your viewers, we'll be announcing a certified partnership with Grass Valley and showing how that Microsoft Teams tool works with them. It gives the ultimate flexibility for the folks out there that you can choose Epiphan and know that we'll maintain those standards, we'll keep those kind of lines open so that we sit at this critical intersection of a lot of manufacturers to make a great experience.
So if a corporate and enterprise or higher ed, do they need to have a whole production department to do this?
I think we're redefining what production department means. We've got our director of product marketing, Julian Fernandez, right now producing this event for us, right? And Julian's not a trained producer. He's a product marketer, and he's a great one at that. And I've started to produce my own events. I actually did a pre-record the other day for an advertisement that's running on Facebook. I did a 2-camera shoot here in my office, and it turned out fantastic. So I think one of the things we talk about is our slogan's broadcast without barriers. We're trying to help people broadcast their stories both as individuals and organizations. And a lot of times in the case of higher education institutes, you might not have a professional broadcast crew, but you might have students. And those students have, our tools are very accessible. And that's an important aspect of that is creating tools that anybody can use. Gone are the days of kind of creating that mystery and creating that kind of fear. We're trying to really embrace and make it easy.
Nice. So how, you have removed barriers to entry. So how does someone really kind of get into this? What's the first? How do they get to Epiphan and get going on this?
Well, the hardest thing is spelling our name. It's Epiphan.com, Epiphan. One of the things that I love about our company, and this predates me joining, and what really excited me was the passion around video production. And so if you check out our YouTube channel, you're going to see that we've been walking the walk for years. And if somebody's interested in trying to understand this space, understand the protocols, understand what it means, I'd really encourage you to start with our YouTube channel and go there and start understanding the difference between SRT and NDI and understanding what it means to create virtual productions. We've been using this tool quietly in the background for months now as we've been evaluating and developing it, and I think that's a great way for people to start. And then I think it's just about rolling up your sleeves and jumping in. We have really great explainer videos, really great training tools out there, and we think this is a readily accessible and as we almost joke, even executive proof technology. I myself got a Pearl and within 8 hours was able to kind of stand up a show and produce it for my wife for her business, and it was a multi-camera shoot branded with all of her credentials, and we were live streaming out to expecting parents within a couple weekends. So it's really fun to see how that can kind of unlock those capabilities.
Nice. Sounds like fun. Um, and now you're a producer. So
I
this
won't
is great.
insult the real producers in the world. I see the work they do, and
Yeah.
it's incredible. And I think one of the things, Cindy, we have to appreciate about that poor production community is that is a pressure rich environment. The stakes are very high. When we're doing outbound live events. And we all know what those look like. We've experienced the intensity of those. Part of what we're also unlocking, though, is a tier below that. Training doesn't quite have the same high stakes yet. I know that if I can get people to focus on my content, focus on, document cameras, multiple camera shoots that really let them see and have this kind of rich experience as if they were in the room, similar to how a student can have a rich experience outside the room as well with a class. We know just that increases that engagement, that retainment, and has a big impact on everybody. And those next tier down are the really exciting spaces where I think we're going to see just a ton of change in the coming months.
I agree, and I shouldn't have insulted producers. My apologies, because I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we're not going to corporations and higher ed and lots of other verticals. They're not going to be hiring producers to do their training videos or town halls or what have you. But it's really critically important now more than ever for everyone to really up that content game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think historically we've had a two-tier game. We've had live event folks, which were really, again, very, very specialized skill set. We tend to hire them in when we need them, which, by the way, I think will continue to happen. I think then in the old system, we had two tiers. We had live events, and we had video conference. And what we're unlocking is that middle tier. And so what do we see? We see organizations of all sizes and shapes, by the way. What they're saying is we're going to invest in the video production infrastructure required to create killer 4K rich content. In the case of a massive multi-day live event, we might bring outside consultants in, outside producers in to help create that show, to help drive that event, to leverage that equipment to its maximum. But all the other times of the year, we'll be able to leverage our internal teams to go create that content and work through it. And that does not require necessarily somebody with a full production chop capability. Although we also think we're going to be unlocking a gig economy around this. There's a lot of opportunities. We know a lot of dealers out there, some really progressive dealers. They basically go with that same value proposition. They go in, they say, here's your equipment for your room. We're going to set up a production studio. We'll teach, all these tools are usable by your team. We're also here, though, to provide services. And what they're finding is more often than not, the teams kind of get the event set up, but then they might hire just those professional switching services to make sure day of is really tight and crisp. This is a great kind of engagement opportunity for our value-added resellers and the channel as well to go engage in new services for clients. As they make the client successful, it's going to naturally start to expand out and get more and more of those types of opportunities.
I agree. I think that's a really perfect opportunity for that, the value add. Can we talk about what type of investment?
Sure. In general, so our devices, if we're talking at the edge as far as hardware goes, there's a lot of different setups we can do. I'm using right now one of our capture cards, a 4K capture card into a $300 Canon camera. And with a light ring. So, you can get a really killer kind of executive studio for maybe $1,500. Now, we start to step up from there and we see there's different flavors that come out of it. We offer our edge encoders in 3 flavors, small, medium, large, depending upon how many insies and outsies you have, right? Our simplest device is the Nano with a street price or MSRP of $1,700. That's a really attractive kind of single point encoder for somebody to hook a camera into. So you start to move up towards like our Pearl 2, which is an all-in-one kind of production system. That's really around $7,500. That becomes the core, though, of an entire studio. You can bring 6, 4K cameras into that. Around that, you're going to put lighting and microphones and all those kind of accoutrements. You'll be able to record on the device, stream on the device, graphics, layout, switch it remotely, all those things. So that's a traditional kind of studio lift, which, very quickly we'll get into that 6 figures once you think about all the services and everything that's out there that needs to occur. What we see with Connect and what we're really excited to unveil in the coming weeks, again, giving a little sneak peek for your viewers, is a concept around reserve capacity. And so what this allows is for the dealer that's gone out and sold that production facility, that studio, to a client or customer, however big it is, they can then say, by the way, if you want to use those Microsoft Teams rooms you've installed as mini production studios, Epiphan Connect lets you do that. Because while we're using Epiphan Connect to extract our individual Microsoft Teams feeds from our laptops, it also works with the rooms. So now you can train your executives to just go book a Microsoft Teams room when you have to get on a call, whether that's with CNN or Fox or just your local town hall, right? You go and you hop into a Microsoft Teams room. The producer in the back end can then extract that video feed from the cloud, bring that into their production environment, and go ahead and use that for outbound. Now, the reserve capacity model, what it allows the dealer to do is to storytell around that and then reserve capacity for a number of hours over the upcoming year. And so they're able to bundle together a number of hours up front, which make it a much more attractive discount for the end user and client, and a much more attractive kind of price point for the dealer and the dealer organization. Because we all know that one of the traps of kind of existing software sales is that it's very difficult to get really excited about $25 for an initial sale. But if you take 1,000 hours over a year and that turns into a $15,000 kind of reservation of capacity, that's a much more attractive kind of initial sale for the dealer. So we think it's a win-win for everybody. End customer gets a predictable model up front. They get a discount. They know how to use the tool. Dealer gets incentivized to go out and talk about it, and we start to just go out there and use it and really create these hybrid experiences that everybody's been talking about for years, but we really lacked great tooling to deliver on it.
Well, that's quite a tease for our Epiphan Connect.
September 27th.
Okay. Well, so we'll come back. And this has been a really great overview. I really appreciate it. And we're going to come back because I'm going to do another interview with you about Epiphan Connect that will go into greater detail.
Well, thank you, Cindy, so much.
Thanks, Nick. Always great talking with you.
Cheers.